Hi there, I'm Tom. Welcome to Tom's Grinder Lab. Today we have a review of the Wirsh Geimori GU63. Now this grinder is the grown-up version of a very small cutie pie grinder that I very much fell in love with called the GU38. I have a review of that grinder on my website. This is the latest and greatest from Wirsh. It's worth paying attention to because it's value-packed, especially if you have a taste for medium or darker roast espresso, and if you have a taste for milk, it's really simply one of the best you'll get. So what we're going to do today, it's a full bench review. Big shout out, first of all, to Monastery Coffee for helping to sponsor these videos. Secondly, reason to subscribe. We've got a bunch of directly purchased espresso machines from China. I've got 8 of them. 7 of them are on my bench right now. I'm just waiting for one more to arrive, and then we'll be publishing a series of what I call performance values reviews on espresso machines, which you can purchase direct from China. All the do's and don'ts in purchasing, but which one might be right for you if you decide to take that route. So that's coming up. For this review, number 1, we've got top specs, then we'll go through top features. Some of the things I really like about this little grinder, mid-sized grinder, I should say. Pricing in the cup ratings. I'll give you ratings for light, medium, dark espresso, milk, filter coffee, quality assessment. We'll have a look at the grinder actually in action, doing some grinding, have a look at retention and so on. What other options would you consider if you were looking to purchase this grinder? The things I'd change about this grinder if I had a magic wand, who this is going to be best for, and then an overall rating. Let's rock and roll. Part 1, top specs. So spec number 1 is the fact that it's a 63mm conical burr. Now, some of the marketing blurb here, is it massive? No, it's mid-size. Is it ideal for every single brew method or perfect, as it says ideal and perfect? No, but it is very good at one thing, which is the medium to darker roasted bean. So that's the sweet spot, I think, for this one. It's very good for milk, and I think where we are safe with the little marketing blurb is the reference to rich syrupy body, because this burr set is very capable of doing that. So weight, spec number 2, it's 3 kilograms, just a smidgen over that, so reasonably lightweight grinder for the size, easy to move around on your bench. Specs, dimensions, spec number 3, I should say, 155 by 98 by 305, and I've got a picture here because sometimes dimensions in terms of metrics don't mean a whole lot, but if you see it here next to it's the second from the left as you're looking at the screen, the VS4 is on the left, then we've got the GU63, and then the VS6, which is a big grinder, and then a mid-sized grinder on the far right to compare to, which is the WPM ZP1. So it's kind of in the mid-range there, but it does have quite a small footprint because it's not a long footprint. So if you have space issues on your bench, this might be useful for considering. Spec number 4, it's a 96-watt motor. Now, this has a double-edged sword. On the one hand, it's not going to spin those burrs too fast. It's around about 110, I think, RPM, so it's quite slow. It does actually grind reasonably quickly, but I'll show you all that in the grinder lab. But 96 watts, what's the double-edged sword here? Well, one is it's not going to create a whole lot of heat for the beans, so it won't strip the beans of flavor by reason of heating up too much, which some of the bigger, faster burrs in particular do. So there's that going for it. What it does mean is I don't know about the durability of the motor. It seems a little light, but it might be absolutely fine. To be honest with you, engineering and motors well above my pay grade. One thing it does has going in its favor is this 3 sets of bearings, which is designed to make that motor more efficient and less stress on the motor because it's easier. All the bearings make it easier to spin the burr. Spec number 5 is the fact that it is a stepless dial, and it's a very smooth dial. It's not so easy that you'd be worried about grinder drift during a grind, but it is nice and firm, and it is very easy, and also I really like the dial markings on it. So top features, what are the things that I think I like the most about this? Well, the first thing is I do like the fact that it's 110 RPM. It is 110 RPM, and it's called a cold grind technology. I don't know about the terminology itself, but the theory is perfectly sound. The slower you move those burrs, the less heat is transferred from the burrs into the beans, and the fuller the flavor you get. The more heat that's transferred, the more aromas you lose, and that translates into less flavor in the cup. So it's a real thing, whether it's cold grind technology or just a slow burr technology, it's a thing, and it does make a difference in the cup. Heat is really the enemy of flavor, and that's one of the biggest, it's the only real difference between a large burr and a small burr is the larger burrs have to work less hard and generate less heat. So that's why they're quite popular in cafe situations where they're doing an awful lot of work. You don't want the burr heating up as much. And as I said, that's the big advantage of a big burr. That advantage doesn't really translate to home, where you might be doing 2 or 3 shots over the space of an hour or two. So cold grind technology, yeah, it's a thing. Whether you'd use that terminology or not, it's up to you, but it does keep the heat down. And just note 65 dB, that's not whisper quiet. It's about normal for a grinder. So just, maybe overlook that. Don't think you're going to get a grinder which is virtually noiseless. I don't know where they come up with that, but it is not a loud grinder because the burrs are spinning at a very, very low RPM. Feature number 2, it is very low retention. And this is one thing that I was delighted to see after putting 2 kilograms of seasoning beans through the grinder, open up the chamber, and there's not a lot of retention in there. I think the design is actually quite clever in that there's not an angle on the grinder. It's just a straight drop from the burr chamber where the beans are being ground through the chute and into the cup. It's a direct line. Doesn't have to pass through anything. So that's probably helps with retention. Quite good sweepers working away there in the lower burr, in the burr chamber. Feature number 3, it is a small footprint. We've got an overhead shot here for you to compare it again to the VS4. On the left, in the middle there, you'll see the black one is the GU63, and next to that is a VS6. So quite a small footprint. I really like the dosing cup. It's tall. It's not going to overflow grounds. It'll keep a good 50 grams in there if you wanted that. And the gap between, as you'll see, the gap between the exit chute and the top of the cup is absolutely minimal. It's also, picture number 2, the magnet on the bottom of the cup is very powerful. So you can slide it in, and even though there's only a tiny little gap between the top of the dosing cup and the bottom of the chute, it's going to lock into place very firmly and very easily. So top features, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Let's have a look at price. So let's talk pricing. Now, at time of recording, Wirsh are about to launch this. So it's going to be offered for $199 US. After that, it could go up to as much as $299 US, which is the maximum recommended retail price. But right now it's $200 US, which translates to about 170 euros. Full retail would be 260 euros. Australian dollars right now, around about 280 plus shipping, I guess, and maximum retail around 420. So there's the price ranges. Whatever you pay for this, within any of those particular ranges, the launch special is amazing. But even the recommended retail, I doubt if you're going to get a grinder that's this good in action in the cup for the medium to darker plus the milk, then at that price point, it's pretty much unbeatable. But if you can get it at early bird special, so much the better. So part 4, let's have a look at in the cup rating. So for light espresso, I'm going to give this 3 beans. I'm probably being a bit generous there. There are better grinders. If you're wanting light espresso with lots of flavor notes, you're wanting to let the shot run from, say, 1 gram in to 3 grams out. It might be, 20 grams in, 60 grams out. You're wanting to run that shot for 25 to 30 seconds, so it's thinner, but more clarity. There are better grinders. For example, the Lagon Casa would be a good option to opt for there. Medium espresso, going to give it 5 beans out of 5. It really balances body and clarity for a medium bean. It's also 5 out of 5 for dark and 5 out of 5 for milk-based espresso, because it extracts enough body and enough boldness in terms of the flavor to punch through milk. And that's often what dark roast espresso lovers like, is that flavor really punching through. It's not going to give you the subtlety that you're going to get from a lighter roasted a grinder that's better suited for a lighter roast, such as, they say, the Mazophyllus I200D burrs, or, as I said, the Lagon Casa. So, and for filter, I'm going to give it 2 beans out of 5 for that exact reason. You're going to get a strong, bold flavor out of this, no question. But a lot of filter drinkers like to have, including me, like to have some clarity and some flavor notes coming through. So a thinner, but more clarity in the filter coffee. So 2 beans out of 5 for that. And let's go and have a look at the beast in action. So let's have a look at the grinder in action. It is actually quite tall, and physically, it looks actually wider than it does on the camera. I don't know how that happens. One of the things I like about it is this really nice big anti-popcorn lid here. And it's big enough and slanted enough that even with RDT, misting your beans, the beans don't get stuck on there. They just slide off to the side. Nice big throat. I quite like that. And the bellows actually sits on there and doesn't bounce off like some grinders, which is a bit annoying. So let's do it. First of all, we'll do a speed test with the 20 gram that's in there. I'll also do the power test to see how many watts it's chewing through at the same time. Let's go, bang. So only about 60 or less watts, 63, 59. So that's almost spot on 30-second grind time. Niche Zero used to be, I think, from memory 35. So it's there or thereabouts with actually a very, very slow RPM, which I think is quite good. I think now what we'll do is we'll do a test of the noise. So we'll pop another 20 grams in, 19.5. The dosing cup is, and the neck here is quite generous. I mean, the cup's really only a third full, and I'm going to do a second dose. It's pretty close to claimed 86, yeah, say 89. So pretty close to the claimed amount. So I think we can forgive them for a couple of decibels, you know, mileage may vary sort of thing. But so that doesn't make it whisper quiet, as is the claim, but it does make it around about, on average, the sort of grind that you would expect. Certainly a lot less noisy than some of them I've had, like the wonderful little Olympia Mocha SD was, wow, it was like a banshee wailing. Doesn't have the whine of the DF64V. So overall, I think it's a pass in terms of noise and pitch. Certainly the pitch is very low. Not whisper quiet, not like a Lagom Mini, but still quite acceptable. Grinds. Now here's something you might quite like. Nice and fluffy, no clumps, and this is before I've shaken it. So that's a really encouraging sign. One of my favorite grinders is the WPM ZP1, which is, you know, 5 times the price, has clumps. And I always think it's a good sign when you have a grinder that you're getting a pretty good, pretty consistent, when you're not getting clumps and not too much static electricity, I should say. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed in the lab. I'm pretty happy with that. And retention, well, there's going to be a bunch of grounds in there at the moment, but let me clear them out. Bellows is really nice and easy to use. Let's hop inside and have a look. I always unscrew these the wrong way. It's always reverse thread. Should have turned that off at the wall, Tom. Let's do that now. So pretty good. I mean, this has had way more than 2 kg through it now. Oh, the other thing I wanted to show you while we're in the lab is how precise this thing is to fit. I mean, this is the most precise upper burr carrier that I've ever seen. It's so tight, the tolerance is, that if you get it even slightly on an angle, then it's not going to slide in. It's got to be dead set, perpendicular. Very nice. And this, if ever you do take this apart and you are, oh, the other thing I always do add, you'll see a little bit of moisture around the threads here. That's a good sign. It means the factory has put some food-safe lubricant in there. I presume it's food place at least. But you always wanted to check that you're not going to have grounds caught around the threads on the outside of this steel part or on the inside of this, which is probably an alloy. No grounds in there, because particularly with alloy, you'd be surprised how much damage coffee grounds can do. So just be careful with that, and then you'll slip this back on, and it will, I've done this a few times now, it will go back to pretty much, again, reverse thread time, hello. Anti-clockwise is doing it up. So this will go back pretty close to dead center zero, or very close to it anyway. So there's a little bit of slack there, which there should be. You don't want to start the grinder on super tight, could damage the burrs. So you just want to have this up around. And I've been using, look, for a medium roast, I've been using 24. So I'd start with 24 and work your way through back from there. Quite like this thing. And guess what? Blooper, forgot to put the upper burr carrier in. Never done that before. Yes, he has. So part 7, other options. If you're considering buying this grinder, what else should you be looking at? Well, there's not a lot that's comparable. The one I mentioned previously, option 1, is the Geimori GU63. I really like this little grinder. It's going to be a slower grind for you. It is a smaller grinder. It's very favorably priced, typically around about US $60 cheaper, depending on what sort of specials are going on. But it is one that you can consider. I think it's a really great grinder if you want to throw it in the car and go traveling, or throw it in the backpack and hop on your motorbike or something like that. It's a fabulous little grinder, and it's a little cutie pie, and I really like it. The coffee out of both of these grinders is going to be similar. I actually think that the GU63 is more suited to the medium and dark roasted than the GU38. So a bolder flavor, if you like, and especially so if you're adding milk. Option 2, the Varia VS3. Pros and cons here. It's a great little grinder. It has a terrific burr set. You're going to get more clarity in the cup out of the VS3, but it has been plagued with reliability issues, the motor and gearbox, and version the Gen 1 certainly, and Gen 2 to a lesser extent. Might all be fixed when the Gen 3 comes out, but at the moment, it's a little bit of a risk getting the VS3 because of the problems that they've had with reliability issues. Option 3, well, there's the Niche Zero, which is also a 63mm conical, uses a Mazza burr, the Mazziconi burr, I think it is, but it's 4 to 5 times the price. So is it a better grinder? Look, it probably is a better grinder in terms of build quality and everything else about it, but Jesus, it's so expensive these days relative to other options. And I can't help but feel that it's kind of been superseded a lot. And this little grinder here, as I said, if you're at the GU63 I'm talking about, if you're liking that medium to dark espresso, and if you like to add milk, then this thing is going to beat the Niche, good grinder though it is. It's going to beat it for that boldness punching through in the cup. Part 8, what are the things, if I had a magic wand, that I'd change? Well, the motor, I'm nervous. I don't know, as I mentioned earlier, it's above my pay grade. I'm not a motor and engineer type person, but I do know this, that Wirsh has a very good track record of supporting anyone who has an issue with their grinders. So that gives me some confidence that even if there is an issue regarding durability, then provided it's going to happen with a warranty, you're going to be well looked after. Change number 2 is a bit of a weird one. There's only 2 things that if Wirsh asked me, which they haven't, I would change. I would increase the price, because at the moment, the risk is that people look at this and they go, well, is it all plastic? Is it just rubbish because it's so cheap? And in fact, this grinder, I think, could easily sell for another 50% on top of the current recommended retail price. So, around $450 US. I think that's about the right price point. But hopefully they don't listen to my advice, and you can still buy this at a very, very favorable discount. So part 9, who's this best for? It's best for you if you're budget conscious, you don't want to spend too much on your coffee, and it's also very good if you've got a big machine. And the reason I mentioned the big machine is if you've got a nice big black Arc or Coast or something like that, or maybe you've got a dual boiler of some sort, and you get a tiny little grinder next to it like a Lagon Mini, it kind of looks out of whack. So I like the fact that even though this has a small footprint, it's nice and tall. So if you are a big machiner, you don't want a tiny little grinder next to this huge espresso machine, then this could be for you. Also, avatar number 3, clearly I've mentioned it several times, if you're liking the medium or darker espresso in the cup, you want that bold flavor, you want the viscous, sweet espresso that is traditional Italian, and even more so if you're adding milk, then this is 5 beans out of 5. Medium and darker, if that's you, then this grinder is something you should consider. Final ratings and thoughts. In the cup, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5, provided, as I said, you're in the medium to darker or adding milk. Workflow, 4 out of 5, because taking a bean off because there is no direct to portafilter grinding option. Value, 5 out of 5 has to be. Special features, 3 out of 5. There's not variable RPM on this. There is an anti-static or plasma generator built in there somewhere. But I think it's a nice, simple grinder, put it like that. So it's no fluff, no faff, I should say, no fluffing around. 3 out of 5 in terms of features, and for the price, who can complain? Quality components, I don't know. It's looks like built well enough. So I'm going to give it 3 out of 5 because I still don't know about the motor. And look, I'd be saying 3 out of 5 beans for most new grinders that come out until they've got a track record, until we've seen enough in forums and on Reddit and so on about what's happening with the grinders. We just don't know. So I can't give it 4 or 5 beans at the moment, but 3 out of 5 for the components, which is still good. It's just not very good or excellent, which is the 4 or 5. Engineering precision, give me a 5 out of 5. If you buy this grinder and you remove the upper burr carrier, which is very easy to do, you've seen that in the in-action video, the precision of engineering, the tolerances around putting it back in, you have to be very careful to get this absolutely horizontal as you're putting it in, because the tolerances are so fine, and that's the mark of a grinder that's been well designed and well engineered. So engineering precision, 5 out of 5. Energy rating, it's 5 out of 5 because you're not going to get something that's as energy efficient as this. Not that that's a big deal for most people, but it is. It's a low watt motor, so energy rating is 5 out of 5. Aesthetics, 4 out of 5. I quite like it. I'd be quite happy with this on my bench. No one support is 5 out of 5, so it adds up to a pretty good rating for the GU63. So that's a wrap from me. Hope you enjoyed the review, and if you do purchase this, let me know what your thoughts are, please, and underneath this video. That would be helpful. Early bird special is going to disappear, I think, in about 3 weeks, so if you are seriously interested, you could save $100 US, which is a fair chunk of change, by getting this in the launch special. But other than that, I will wish you well. Hope you enjoy your coffee, and make sure you subscribe because I do have a bunch of very interesting stuff coming out, including the 8 espresso machines that I've ordered direct coming from China, and we'll review them one by one, and we'll see if one of those is right for you. And if you are interested in one of them, what are the things you need to check before you buy in terms of electrical compliance and all the other bits and pieces. So thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you at the next video. Cheers.